cliques and literal gangsters to a world-striding power who is dominating renewable energy, dominating electric vehicles, soon to be dominating space, soon to be dominating aviation. The International Space Station, ultimate symbol of neoliberal primacy, is falling out of orbit, and the only space station in orbit will be Chinese. Think about that symbolism. Dominating renewable energy, dominating electric vehicles, dominating space, dominating aviation. I think it's safe to say that we're fucked. I think it's safe to say that we are fucked. I don't think that the institutions at any level of our society can stop Trump. And they're not even going to try. The thing about stuff like being concerned or sounding the alarm is a metaphor. When somebody says, I'm going to sound the alarm, that's a metaphor. What is that a metaphor for? The answer is a watchdog or a sentry will see an approaching army, and then he sounds the alarm. The thing about sounding the alarm is that there's supposed to already be your own army. There's already supposed to be a plan. There's already supposed to be defenses drawn up. If you're sounding the alarm, that's supposed to mean, all right, everybody grab your sword, everybody grab your shield, go to the mustering field, close the gates, bring in the supplies. I'm sounding the alarm. It's time to fight. But all we have is just a network of alarm sounders. Oh, he's sounding the alarm, so I'm sounding the alarm. So he's sounding the alarm. She's sounding the alarm. They're sounding the alarm. It's a circle of alarm sounders. There's no walls, let alone men and women with swords and shields. What the fuck is the use of sounding an alarm? It's like they're lighting the beacons of Gondor, except the beacons of Gondor just go in a big circle around all the mountain peaks, and then they end up back at Rohan. There is no, or Gondor. There is no Rohan. There is no Romiran. There is no army to ride. There is no protests. There are no, because they've made them illegal and targeted and surveilled all the protest leaders. There's nothing. And I don't say this because I'm a doomer. I say this because I'm not a doomer. I say this because I am a realist. And I have soberly analyzed reality, and I have come to the conclusion that we're fucked. I need to get my money. I need to get whatever savings I have out of dollars. Well, at least my student loans will be cheaper to pay off. Dominating renewable energy, dominating electric vehicles, dominating space, dominating aviation. And they're on the
Here in China, they got rid of all the homelessness by simply making sure people had easy access to food. Hey, so this is so funny because it's true. So here in China, they got rid of all the homelessness by simply making sure people had easy access to food, to shelter, and to the necessities in life. And Israel and the US, I think it was 2022, they voted against like a UN vote for making food a human right, claiming that it was some, basically it would take away your freedom of autonomy if you had food as a human right. Well, actually, guys, we don't have a choice about eating. You have to eat, otherwise you'll die. So with that said, China, has recognized...
Thoughts on this critics on China? I saw that video before, and it cites U.S. State Department and U.S. CIA propaganda articles. I don't think that in general, usually written by the Heritage Foundation, I wouldn't, like, listen, I'm not saying never be skeptical of China. I think you should be skeptical of any international institution or any country that is engaging in international trade. But I don't think you should be using the Heritage Foundation and the CIA. There was a massive funding for anti-Chinese propaganda that was passed last year. And so you're starting to see the fruits of that. So if I see someone who's just like starting to throw out Heritage Foundation propaganda against China, it's probably because they're being paid. Yeah, here it is. House passes $1.6 billion to deliver anti-China propaganda overseas. This was last year. September 11th, 2024. Since at least 2016, foreign interference in American elections and civil society has become central to American political discourse. The issue is taken extremely serious by the U.S. government, who has levied sanctions and called out foreign adversaries for sowing discord and chaos through their propaganda efforts. But apparently Washington takes a different view when it comes to American propaganda operations in foreign countries. On Monday, the House passed H.R. 1157, the Countering the PRC Malign Influence Fund, by a bipartisan 351 to 36 majority. This legislation authorizes more than $1.6 billion for the State Department and USAID over the next 5 years to, among other purposes, subsidize media and civil society sources around the world that counter Chinese malign influence globally. So I do not trust anyone who uses American propaganda sources uncritically to talk about China. I think that if you do that, you're not being a true leftist, you're being a dope. And I'm not going to like put that on my platform. Like, I'm absolutely not going to put that on my platform.
Food as a human right, and the cost of like breakfast, lunch, and dinner is, and I'll put it in US dollars, about $6 to $10 a day. And for workers who may not be able to afford good nutrition-based meals, work almost always provides that. So like here in the community that I'm showing you guys, the street cleaners who clean all the paths and water all the grass and keep everything looking beautiful, they actually have a cafeteria, and it's behind this building here. So the HOA office is the building behind this one, and if you go to that one, they have the HOA office. They have like ping pong tables and pool tables. It's also got the pool, like locker rooms and all of that, and then there's a cafeteria for all the workers, and they can go there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and make sure they're fully fed. So the thing in China is like rice is extremely inexpensive. So even if you just had to eat rice with a little bit of meat and vegetables, that's better than being hungry. So nobody in China would accept that somebody is hungry. And the culture, I encourage you guys to travel over here, because essentially if you're a smoker, everyone will offer you a cigarette. If you're a drinker, everybody will offer you a drink. If you're hungry or you haven't eaten, that's almost their greeting. So they will say, "Chafan lama, have you eaten?" And they're trying to ask, do you want to go eat together? So again, it's just a culture here around a basic human right called food. And yeah, I don't understand in the United States, even as an American, right? I don't understand the position of it's against your autonomy to have food be a human right. Like, no, you have to eat. You just have to do it. So hopefully this was helpful, guys, and it shows you a side of China you wouldn't otherwise see or hear. Cheers.
I've taken very few Chinese classes, but that's one of the first sentences I learned. I mean, one of the things, like, listen, I'm not trying that. China is still a developing country, right? They've made more progress faster than any country in human history, but they're still a developing country because they were starting from a really bad place of being colonized and hollowed out, and multiple world wars, and then a massive civil war, and then being sanctioned, and then, you know, the fact that China has grown faster than any other place in human history is something to take stock of and look to learn from. And they do a lot of things really well, and we should learn from the things that they do well. That is what's great about politics. You can look around the world for when people do something really well and learn from that part of what they do well. You don't have to take in everything you don't like. I don't know how to communicate what's happening. It's not sinking in. I don't know how to communicate it. I don't know how to make you fired up. I don't know how to make you understand the level of consolidation of power of Donald Trump. Things are moving faster than we thought possible. Fascism is here. Military is being deployed to the cities. Checkpoints are popping up. He's writing executive orders that just to directly contradict Supreme Court decisions. He's nationalizing American corporations at whim. He's dismantling the independence of the Federal Reserve Bank. I don't think that people really understand. He's gerrymandering in the middle of the decade Republican states to lock down control of the House of Representatives. The only place Democrats had a real chance of taking power so that they could block him legislatively. They're very unlikely to take the Senate. And so the only chance the Democrats had of getting a check and balance on Trump was the House of Representatives. And so Donald Trump is Machiavellian in his, I'm going to just redistrict every state I can to maximize the gerrymander. He has complete confidence that the Supreme Court won't stop him. He has complete confidence that the voters or people won't care. He has complete control over the capitalist class, the Supreme Court, the legislative body, the federal government. He's got $175 billion for a Gestapo. I don't think people are waking up. It's fucking over. The reason why it's fascism is because Donald Trump is disrespecting the norms of liberal democracy. He's disrespecting private property rights. He is seizing power through intimidation. He's seizing wealth through intimidation. These countries are giving him hundreds of billions of dollars at his whim because they're worried that he'll use the federal government to oppress them. And so they're just complying. And he's not taking that money in order to like increase redistribution of wealth or to check the capitalist class. He's doing so to consolidate power around himself. And he's doing so by trampling on the thing that liberals are supposed and capitalists are supposed to care about the most. He's showing the supremacy of the Trump-led state over all factions of society. He is engaging in corporatism and a Mussolini-style political economy.
Ask a liberal why Kamala lost the 2024 election, and you will find out just how conservative they really are, and how they would rather bend over backwards to appease the Republican Party than move left on a single issue. Consider their very best excuse, that Kamala Harris lost the 2024 election because America is a misogynistic and a racist nation, which is objectively true. But if it came down to her identity and not her politics, because God knows she should not have changed her politics, right? That would mean that the liberal thinks the party should nominate the... But they will never say that out loud, because part of being a liberal who thinks like this is thinking like a Republican, but not talking like a Republican. Their next excuse is that the party has become too woke, which by now we know is code for trans people should shut the fuck up, because how pragmatic liberals will be with other people's rights. And they say this thinking that Republicans will give them credit and bring an end to the culture war, because part of being a liberal is having a loser's mindset. But their favorite excuse, more than any other, is to say without evidence that leftists cost Democrats the election, as if there's a huge contingency living in Oshkosh, Wisconsin that didn't show up to vote that day. And the idea here is that leftists are so powerful that they can swing elections, but not powerful enough that we should cater to them. In fact, we should bash on them, like Republicans. And they do all of this because they would rather curry favor with the fascists than the leftists.
Well, here's the thing, like, liberals, there are very few people, like I watch a lot of liberal content because I try to understand what motivates someone to make liberal content, right? Like I watch a lot of liberal content so that you guys don't have to. And I have a hard time understanding liberal, like why people make liberal content. And what it comes down to is really like one of two kind of general orientations. The first is the identity as a Democrat, as a core part of their identity. Now, what that means is vacuous. There is no content to it. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like saying you're a Steeler fan or something, right? That's step one. So they have this but it's incredibly important to them. It's like a Taylor Swift fan. It's stan culture, but for the Democrats. That's liberal content reason number one. And the second is this antipathy to the Republican Party, but it doesn't have any like real specificity to it. It's just the Republicans are like a demonic force, and therefore the Democrats are the only alternative, right? And if you don't support the Democrats, you are implicitly supporting the Republicans. That is the entire argument. Misogyny and racism are incredibly prevalent in our society. But when we're talking about electoral politics, the people for whom racism and misogyny is something that their vote turns around are all voting Republican. And they have been voting Republican for 35 years or more. Okay? Like, there is no like, oh, I was going to vote for the Democrats, but then they nominated a black woman. No. Because I would say something like 60%, 65% of Americans would vote for a black woman. Okay, like they're under certain conditions. Like, does that mean 35% of the country is racist and misogynist? Yes, but I think from an electoral perspective, it's not moving the needle at all. And what's my proof? Well, I mean, Barack Obama destroyed John McCain. He won Indiana. He won Iowa. He won North Carolina. He won Florida. Okay, like. The idea that racism is so controlling of our society, and he kicked their ass, okay? It wasn't even close. The idea that racism is so controlling of our society 20 years after Obama, it doesn't even really compute. And he's still extremely popular. So I don't think that from an electoral perspective, you're really saying anything. Like, I think it's a correct analysis of America that America is racist and sexist. But I think from an electoral perspective, you're not getting any truth value from that statement. You're actually giving her cover. And you're also creating, paradoxically, the incentive to discriminate against black women and men and women in general as leaders of the party, because you're implicitly programming the left to be skeptical of women leaders because of the supposed disadvantage they have, which doesn't actually exist if you look at the numbers. You're actually creating the environment to discriminate against women by claiming that Kamala Harris lost because she's a woman. I don't think she lost because she's a woman. I think she lost because she's a dogshit politician with bad policies who suppressed the left and supported a genocide. I think, yes, there's a lot of misogyny and racism against her, but you get what I mean? Electorally, I think it's just bad. I think it's bad analysis, and I think it actually creates a space for more bigotry. It's a way of avoiding accountability because she can't change the fact that she's a black woman. So if you blame the fact that she's a black woman on her defeat, well, then she didn't do anything wrong. And the problem is we're trying to show she did shit that's wrong. So, you know, she lost every swing state, guys. Like, come on. I don't think it's sexism and racism that accounts for it. And that's why I push back on it, because I feel like it creates this kind of rad lib trap of, let's not examine the actual Democratic Party. Let's examine the supposed hatred in the minds of a non-specified other as a way of avoiding accountability. And it's like, we need accountability. We need change. Clinton did way better than Kamala Harris. Like, that's just a fact. Like, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Like, she only won because of the Electoral College and a very lucky overperformance in the Rust Belt by Trump in 2016. Like, Hillary Clinton was a much better candidate than Kamala Harris, and it's not even close. Like, Hillary Clinton had to actually win a contested primary. Hillary Clinton had to actually, Hillary Clinton was a quadrillion times better than Kamala Harris at running for president. And like Claudia Sheinbaum at 80% approval in Mexico. Like, do we need to, you're saying that Mexico is a lot less sexist than America? Like, come on. That's just nonsense. I don't want us to be using these bigotries that definitely exist that are important to examine, even among the left, as an excuse for not having black women leaders. My favorite politician in America is Summer Lee, or my second favorite. Like, Summer Lee is a proud, progressive, socialist, black woman, never misses. She's incredible. I don't want people not to support her because she's a black woman. I don't want people to be like, I don't know if Pennsylvania will vote for a black woman. I don't want to create that environment. It's fucking shit. And it's not true that it would hurt you electorally. It's just not the case. And so I don't even want to entertain it. Like, this stuff, if Bernie Sanders did the exact same thing, they would be screaming that it was communism. Donald Trump does it, and Intel stock goes up. This is, ladies and gentlemen, I think the Rubicon has been passed. I think Donald Trump is successfully going to consolidate power. I feel like the midterms are kind of going to be the point where we all kind of wake the fuck up. It's hard to believe. Like, we want to do what we've always done. We want to be like, we want to be able to just be like, hey, the things march on. The Constitution says has to leave power in 3 years. How bad could it get? And he's really fucking old and unhealthy and obese. But the thing is, this isn't a dictatorship around Trump. This is a dictatorship around the Republican Party. And the Republican Party is an anti-democratic party. So is the Democratic Party, honestly. Democratic norms have been defeated in this country. Like, people do not respect. There is not a reverence for the majority anymore. There is not a respect of the loyal opposition. Like, I don't know how you fix a country like this. I really don't know. And we're becoming more communalist every day. People rallying around division based on race and gender. I mean, the gender wars are even more cringe. And now that women are doing it too. And it's cringe as fuck.
And on the administration's Intel stake, future deals, the U.S.-China chip war, and so much more. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick joins us this morning. Mr. Secretary, it's great to see you. We want to talk about Intel. I also want to ask your thoughts, by the way, on the Lisa Cook situation. But let's start with Intel, because I think there's a lot of questions in the business community this morning about what the administration's intention is as it relates to buying stakes in other businesses. We just had John Stankey, the CEO of AT&T, on, for example. He's doing a deal with EchoStar around broadband licenses. By the way, those licenses are U.S. licenses. The government, you could argue, subsidizes those things. And, of course, the question that we raised was, what do you think about the possibility that the government's going to come and say, hey, we would like a piece of your company, or to buy one through our sovereign wealth fund, or what have you?
Well, I think the Intel deal was a great example. The Biden administration gave, G-A-V-E, gave Intel, an American company, $11 billion grant in exchange for nothing to help them build semiconductors in America, which would be a really good thing. But why would you have, talk about corporate welfare. So Donald Trump sits in the room with me and Lip-Bu, the CEO of Intel, and says, come on, we've got to make it fair for America. And we agree. We get 10% of the company, which brilliantly equals $11 billion. Now,
Mr. Secretary, I don't want to relitigate the history, but just for context, and I hope you'll agree with what I'm about to say. At the time that the CHIPS Act was put together, and we could critique and criticize the CHIPS Act all you want, the idea was that we were trying to incentivize companies to do something in the U.S. that they thought was relatively uneconomic, meaning they didn't want to do this. And so the idea was, how do you incent them effectively to do that? Most of these companies wouldn't have taken the money necessarily if equity was required on the other end. The world has changed. Obviously, the tariff policy and everything else that's been put in place, and obviously Intel's, frankly, own challenges and troubles put them in a more diminished spot. But in terms of just contextualizing what's happened here, is that a fair way to think about it, or do you think that the original CHIPS Act was just completely mishandled?
I think the latter. The CHIPS Act was mishandled. I mean, you've got TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation. It's worth $1 trillion. It's $1 trillion company with an almost monopoly on making wafers that you break into chips that we all know. And they agreed to build $65 billion plants in America, and the Biden administration gave them $6.5 billion, or 10%. As soon as I took this office, I called C.C. Wei. He's the CEO. We sat down and negotiated, and I said, look, this is ridiculous. I'm going to take back the $6.5 billion. This is just a corporate giveaway. You've got to do better for us. And if you remember, he came to the White House.
In February, it would have cost you $104 to buy 100 euros. Those 100 euros would convert it to $117 today. Yeah, that's a big drop.
And announced $165 billion of investment. That's what I'm talking about. At least let's make sure America gets the benefit of the bargain.
Why do you think that all these companies didn't do this prior?
Well, the Biden administration didn't even know how to ask, right? You've got tariffs, and you've got a real businessman, both as the Secretary of Commerce and as the President of the United States, pushing these people. Micron was getting a $2.5 billion grant to build $25 billion. They now upped it to $200 billion. Texas Instruments from $23 billion to $60 billion. I mean, let's get the benefit of the bargain. You've got to push these people. You can't be a pushover. The Biden administration was just a pushover. That's all it was. It was just a giveaway of money, and the Trump administration is just not that.
Howard, it's Wilfred here. Great to speak. Long time no speak. My question on this, following on from what Andrew said, is what is the bar for the government to deserve a stake in a company for free? Because lots of companies are potentially now beneficiaries, domestic U.S. companies, of your tariffs. Is that enough to warrant a 1%, a 2%, a 3% stake for free?
No, and free is a funny way to say it. I mean, it's correct in that the Biden administration had contracted $11 billion out the door, and Donald Trump and the Trump administration turned that into $11 billion of equity. But the money was already out the door. So I think the key is, where is the United States of America adding fundamental value to your business? If we are adding fundamental value to your business, I think it's fair for Donald Trump to think about the American people. I mean, one of those issues was we give hundreds of billions of dollars to universities, hundreds of billions of dollars to universities, and they keep the patents. Don't you think America should get a stake in the patents, that we finance the research? We give the money. I mean, if it was commercial, we surely would get a piece of these patents.
What about defense companies, though, for America? Secretary? Why shouldn't the U.S. government say, you know what, we use Palantir services, we would like a piece of Palantir. We use Boeing services, we would like a piece of Boeing. There are a lot of businesses that do business with the U.S. government that benefit by doing business with the U.S. government. I guess the question is, where's the line?
Oh, there's a monstrous discussion.
By the way, Chad, I just want you to understand that if Bernie Sanders was doing this, these guys would have communist flags in the background. They'd be screaming at the top of their lungs. They would be calling for the United Nations to, like, sanction the U.S. There would be a British prime minister saying that he's questioning the relationship of the UK with the United States. The European Union would, like, sanction the US if Bernie Sanders was doing this. Look what they're doing to Zohran Mamdani over 5 grocery stores. 5 state-owned grocery stores worth a few $1 million each. This is a multi-billion-dollar nationalization. What if can Zohran just take percentages of the grocery stores that are in New York without a peep? Is it true the dollar has collapsed in value? It's dropped quite a bit in the last year. It hasn't collapsed. It's still within the trading range of the last 10 years. but it's dropping fast. And there was an extra drop last night. Like I think what's happening here, chat, is I'm not good enough at communicating what's happening, or maybe you guys just don't care, and I don't know how to make you understand, because most people are socially oriented, and so their reactions and emotions feed off the reactions and emotions of others. So the fact that this is happening and people are just calmly talking about it and not really pushing back, you're not really understanding that this is a sign that Donald Trump is very close to like a complete fascist takeover of our country. He's touching the money and they're not even complaining. Okay? I need you to understand how this means that he has won. He's molesting the money and they're not even saying anything. And if you understand capitalists, this is like putting a gun to their head. Like, I am in utter disbelief that this is the reality that we're in. We're in this reality of Donald Trump is stealing billions of dollars via executive order, and no one's even complaining. If Bernie Sanders tried to do the same thing, there would be a Supreme Court suit going on right now. Intel would have scoffed and said, "Eat shit and die, Bernie." They'd be planning a military fucking coup. The general of the Joint Chiefs of Staff would resign saying, "I didn't sign up to serve in a communist dictatorship." Like, I don't think you guys get it.
About defense. I mean, Lockheed Martin makes 97% of their revenue from the U.S. government. By the
way, he's right. Lockheed Martin should be nationalized. He's right. We shouldn't have all these fucking massive military industrial complex profiteers. We should be investigating these fuckers. We should be ringing. I mean, this is honest to God. If the United States of America under Trump nationalizes Lockheed Martin, that is the first sign that they might actually have a chance of standing up to China, because it means that they're abandoning market fundamentalism in favor of pragmatism, in favor of and they're not completely delusional about reality and about the way capitalism works. And they know that when something's actually important, it can't be trusted to the market. I mean, like, this is, how do I get people to understand how insane this is? How do I get you to understand how insane it is? How am I can't get it through to you. I don't know what to do. I mean, it's just
basically an arm of the U.S. government. They make exquisite munitions. I mean, amazing things that can knock a missile out of the air when it's coming towards you. But what's the economics of that? I'm going to leave that to my Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These guys are on it and they're thinking about it. But I tell you what, there's a lot of talking that needs to be had about how do we finance our munitions acquisitions. I think a lot of that is talking. And now you have the right people in the jobs and Donald Trump at the head thinking about what is the right way to do it. I tell you, the way it has been done has been a giveaway.
I mean, they're not even complaining. They're not even complaining. They're just sitting there passively. These were the guys who didn't want to give a little bit of money to homeowners during the fucking Great Recession. They were ranting and raving about how it's communism to prevent the economy from going into full-blown depression. Now Donald Trump is seizing hundreds of billions of dollars via fiat, and they don't even have a complaint. And the markets are completely. I mean, my God, chat. I want you to understand that if Bernie Sanders did the exact same shit, the markets would be in free fall. There would be capital strikes. There would be capitalists moving billions of dollars overseas. There would be fucking condemnations from European countries. If Bernie Sanders did the same shit, capital would be freaking out, and they're not even complaining. He's touching the money. Like what Donald Trump is doing economically is something that I would want to have 50 million Americans organized and ready to go on general strike to achieve by a left winger. And he's just doing it. And no one's complaining. This is like my wildest dream to just be like, okay, we're taking 10% ownership of this major American company. We should think about nationalizing our defense contractors. Like this is like, I don't think people understand how batshit left-wing insane socialist fucking policy Donald Trump is just doing by fiat. Now, I'm not saying he's doing socialism. I'm just saying nationalizing large American corporations, taking large ownership shares via fiat without paying anything. Like, that's crazy.
Letter to Fed Governor Lisa Cook posted on social media cited allegations by federal housing finance.
The difference is that Trump will not use it for redistribution. No, of course. You're right. Of course he won't. Of course he won't. Which is the exact point. Nothing matters except the class war. And they think Donald Trump is on their side. They understand that nationalism, the vanity of nations, it's all fake. Everything's fake, except there's a class of owners and a class of those that don't. And they think Trump is on the side of the ownership class, and you fucking peasants are going to be ground under his boot. They're going to build drones and AI bots to surveil you. And if you ever raise a peep in protest, and if you ever raise your eye from your slave labor, they'll fucking drone your ass. That's the world they're building. We are literally cattle. I mean, the conspiracy theories of 15 years ago are now fact. The wild-eyed Alex Jones rambling is now reality, and it's being implemented. And they're doing a test run in Gaza. And there is no reaction. You're all tranquilized. You're all inert. You're all and that's us. We're the most politically aware fucking group of Americans, possibly people in the fucking world. And we're inert. We're disabled. And it's not nobody's doing a good job anywhere. It's actually insane.
Authority Director Bill Pulte.
And Alex Jones helped usher it in. The ultimate cosmic irony.
That she made false statements on applications for her personal home mortgages. The Department of Justice has said it will investigate Cook because of Pulte's claim. Now, in a statement Monday, Cook said, President Trump purported to fire me for cause when no cause exists under the law, and he has no authority to do so. Cook said, I will not resign. And she said, I will continue to carry out my duties to help the American economy as I've been doing since 2022. Now, Cook, who was appointed by former President Joe Biden, has hired attorney Abby Lowell to represent her. And Lowell, in a statement, said President Trump has taken to social media to once again fire by tweet, and once again his reflex to bully is flawed, and his demands lack any proper process, basis, or legal authority. Now, all of this brings up a potential months-long legal challenge in the courts. And a big question for this morning, guys, will the Fed allow Cook to have access to her work devices or to the office itself today? That's a decision for higher-ups at the Fed. Is it the HR department or is it Jay Powell himself who will decide whether Cook can come in the building or access her email this morning? That's pending, right around the opening of business today. And then the question for Powell, guys, as we tease this out a little bit farther, is if he allows Cook to have access to the building today, Does that give President Trump another reason to try to fire Powell, saying for cause, because you allowed Cook in, I'm going to fire you? That's another thing to watch for as the day.
There is not any resistance to anything Trump is doing. For a long time, liberal Democrats especially, they thought the capitalists would stand up to Trump. And the capitalists are signaling they will not. And the Democrats have destroyed every other center of possible power and resistance to Trumpism because of their service of the fucking AIPAC genocide. They have destroyed and targeted the left. Since Bernie Sanders popped up, they have focused all of their energy on suppressing the populist left and progressive left in this country and capitulating and appeasing the right. And so we have no forms of resistance that are constituted. And the fantasy of liberal centrist Democrats that the capitalists would keep Donald Trump in check has been fully discredited. We are in trouble, folks. We are in deep, 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 deep trouble.
You are in Fed history here. You know, people are bringing up the idea of previous Fed governors, whether it's Kaplan or Rosengren and others, where there were allegations of some improprieties and they stepped down. Is that an appropriate an appropriate allusion to make here in terms of the current state of affairs with Fed Governor Cook?
Well, in this case, the Fed governor hasn't agreed that she did anything wrong, right? And there's been no adjudication of that through any formal process, just an allegation by a Trump administration official. So I think you're more looking at a similarity with Rebecca Slaughter over at the FTC earlier this year. The president tried to fire her. She fought that decision. It ended up in the courts. A lower court, a district court, ruled in her favor. And then she returned to work after that. And then we saw an appeals court say, actually, we're going to put a stay on this. So Slaughter was not able to go back to work, had to leave the building. And that is all pending in the courts right now. I was texting with Rebecca Slaughter this morning, and I can tell you what she said to me over text this morning as the former FTC official fired by Trump. If the higher courts aren't going to check the president, he's going to keep pushing the envelope and removing the instruments of market stability to fulfill his short-term political goals. What Slaughter said to me this morning over text was, my big point is markets should be worried. Absolutely all checks on monetary policy independence are going out the window, guys.
I'm speechless. The stock market is flat.
He said to me over text this morning, as the former FTC official fired by Trump, if the higher courts aren't going to check the president, he's going to keep pushing the envelope and removing the instruments of market stability to fulfill his short-term political goals. What Slaughter said to me this morning over text was, my big point is markets should be worried. Absolutely all checks on monetary policy independence are going out the window, guys.
Well, okay, Sam, why would she not just present everything she's ever done with mortgages, which I know her lawyer might not want to do, and just say, look, there's nothing wrong here, and move on? Because if the Justice Department isn't taking action right now, and we see her documents, and her documents are innocent, well, I mean, that's going to be very difficult to have cause if her documents are innocent.
Sure.
Why don't we just see the documents?
I mean, there's two possibilities here, Jim, right?
She should put them out this morning.
There's two possibilities, right? One is her documents are clean. The other is they're not, right? And that the FHFA has found something that she did that was check-a-box inappropriate. And then the question is, can she fight it even if that's the case, right? And I think her legal defense is, and this will be for Abby Lowell to decide, of course, but I think her legal defense here would be the predicate for this investigation was itself political. This is a witch hunt, not a broad look at particular mortgage issues in the market, but this was an attempt to target me specifically, therefore it's illegitimate. I would guess the question is going to be, why did Bill Pulte pull these documents in the first place? Was there any predicate for him legally other than politics to look at this?
Well, look, if we see the documents and they're there's nothing, and she shows you the documentation. I think the president may have to go back on this.
The loans we believe. If there's nothing, but if there's something, it's another case, right?
Oh, absolutely. If there's something, it's what David talked about, which is a proprietary. It's a propriety issue. Propriety is.
Was this a proper investigation? Was it conducted for?
Look at the way that Jim Cramer is supporting fascism, which is all of us make mistakes. I'm sure 20 years ago when I filed my first tax return, maybe I didn't put some sort of tax credit, or I claimed something I should have claimed. I made some sort of error on some tax credit somewhere along the line. I'm not infallible. I'm not saying I knowingly did it, but let's just say that all of us make mistakes. And maybe we make estimations, right? And Donald Trump is the king of this. He's done it a million fucking times, where he's undervalued his property when it's being valued for property taxes, and overvalued it when he has been trying to get loans. Donald Trump does that every fucking day. But if you selectively enforce the rules and you target your political enemies, that is not legitimate. If you selectively apply the rules only to your enemies, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say that they get total AI panopticon ability to judge the speed of cars on the highway, right? Let's say they get a traffic monitoring system that is aware of every single car on the road, and exactly where they are on the highway and how fast they're going. And all of us drive 10 miles over the speed limit, but no one ever gets a ticket, because that is the standard and practice of driving. Everybody drives 10 miles over the speed limit on the highway, at least, right? Like, that is the actual speed limit. Okay. If you're not at least 10 over, you're going slow. Everybody's pissed. Okay. What if, when they have this panopticon monitoring, they just decide, we're going to give every single Democrat who goes 1 mile over the speed limit a fucking speeding ticket? And they start flooding every Democrat with speeding tickets. Every time you go out on the street, you're getting another speeding ticket because you're a Democrat. Technically, you sped. But guess what? Now you have 100 fucking speeding tickets. You're fucking ruined. You lose your license. You owe tens of or hundreds of thousands of dollars in speeding tickets. Meanwhile, Republicans are going 80 and a 65, no problem. That would be fascist. That would be illegitimate, because you're selectively applying the law only to your political enemies, and you're going against what is the pattern and normal pattern and practice of behavior. That is selective prosecution. And we are in this reality. We are in this reality now where Donald Trump abuses the government to target his political enemies. They are doing exactly what they accuse the Democrats of doing, politicizing the government, politicizing our investigatory bodies. And there's really no justification for it.
Political reasons or not.
Right. That was the discovery we mentioned a moment ago. We think the loans were outside the scope of her office and through credit unions, not under Fed authority.
Right. But I would just I would end this thing today. I would say, look, here's everything I've done. This is not insane. Look, if you traded on something, you don't really have anything to show. It's good. But if you did a mortgage, say, listen,
they're already doing this with green card holders. Basically, green card holders are now censored in this country. They don't feel like they have constitutional rights. That is in prima facie violation of the Constitution. The Constitution says that it applies to all people within the jurisdiction of the United States, whether they are citizens, whether they are green card holders, whether they are guests, whether they're here illegally. The Constitution says on its face that the constitutional rights apply. And Donald Trump is violating the Constitution. He is betraying the Constitution, prima facie, on its face. There is no debate. There's no logical construction. There's no confusion. It says it in plain text. He is violating his oath. He is violating the Constitution. I mean, it's just that fucking simple. An equivalent would be him going, I've decided through executive order that every state that voted for me in the election gets an additional senator. So every state that voted for Donald Trump in the 2024 election gets an additional senator to be sworn in to the Senate. That is in direct violation of the Constitution. He is in direct violation of the Constitution. And he's giving himself powers he doesn't have.
Here, America, there's 300 million people who do this. Here's mine. Here's what my house is valued at. Here's what I did with that. I mean, I have a credit union thing. I show you that. And you say, here. Yeah, you think I'm fraudulent? I don't know. Tell me. I got the loan. The bank said it was okay. What's the issue? That could really hurt. That could hurt this whole thing. That's what I'd do if I were her.
We're obviously going to keep a close eye on it today and keep a close eye on Fed headquarters.
I just don't know how to make people care. I don't know how to make people aware of the realities that we're facing. After the U.S. takes stake in Intel, Trump pledges many more deals. The president says he hoped to get as much as I can, signaling a shift in the relationship between government and private businesses. Like, if Bernie Sanders was doing this, they would call him Hugo Chavez. They would call him Stalin. Taking ownership of companies. And he's not paying any money. They're just giving it away. They're diluting their shareholders and giving hundreds of billions of dollars in value to the government. This is like a wealth tax of 10% on anyone who owns an Intel stock. That's what Donald Trump just did. Donald Trump said, do you own Intel stock? I just did a 10% wealth tax. And no one complained. And he didn't even pass a law to do it. That's incredible. 3 days after the United States agreed to acquire a stake in chipmaker Intel, Joe Biden passed the CHIPS Act, gave these people hundreds of billions of dollars and got nothing for it. And Donald Trump walks in a room and they give them 10% of their value. I'm sorry, folks. This is a different world. The difference in political power between Donald Trump and Joe Biden is a chasm. It's the Pacific fucking Ocean. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain the level of power that he just fucking exercised, and no one is even saying anything. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I'm the only person who understands that this is a complete destruction of norms that have been in place in this country since 1946. We don't do shit like this anymore. The government just doesn't grab percentages of companies in America, in the West. And Donald Trump has such complete political domination over this country that he's doing something that used to cause fucking riots, doing stuff that used to cause massive political upheaval, Supreme Court decisions, and Intel is capitulating. The president's strategy came into full review on Friday after the administration announced that it would take a 10% stake in Intel, a beleaguered technology giant once viewed as the beating heart of Silicon Valley. The acquisition of Intel's stock is the most notable intervention in private business since the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. No, this is more than that. It's more left-wing than that. He's taking public ownership. Do you not understand that this is nothing? It's nothing compared to a bailout where you just hand people money. when you buy their toxic shit with printed dollars. This is far to the left of anything Obama did. They're taking it. They're not even buying it. And then just so you know, chat, they're doing it by consent. Intel is so intimidated, they did it without a fight. They gave away 10% of their company. They diluted the stock of everybody who owns Intel. This is a wealth tax. And they did it by consent. I mean, it's crazy. And I think I wish that a left-winger could do this. Like, this is something that I wanted a left-winger to do. This is what I wanted. When the CHIPS Act happened, I said, why aren't they owning part of Intel? They're giving them hundreds of... I said that years ago. Why are they taking part of Intel? They're giving them hundreds of billions. Why don't they get a percentage? Donald Trump walks into office and he takes hundreds of billions of dollars? Nobody is fired up by this. Nobody is flabbergasted by this. I'm the only one. I'm the only one who understands this. Everybody's just standing around like going, what? What's the big deal? This is a complete and utter sea change in America. And it's happening and no one even notices. People know so little about economics. They know so little about politics that this kind of extreme outcome is happening in front of them. And they just don't even notice. They don't even care. The stock went up. I don't want to join the union because my boss has a one-way to train. Gotta work every day. Gotta earn adequate pay. Go on early fight. Max profit for the estate, pay for the economy. Put in my bureaucracy. If I get the boss more pay, then I'ma be the boss someday. Give us a plan, give us a mission. Plan? I can't even get people to say, the Democratic Party sucks. Plan. I can't even get people to look at the Democratic Party doing a genocide and go, maybe this party sucks. Plan. What, am I going to get you to grab a gun and fight? People whine about me making fun of a Democrat. Gavin Newsom, he's owning, I can't believe you leftists are attacking Gavin Newsom. He owned Trump on Twitter. What the fuck are you talking about? Plan.
Support this, support what we're doing. Please, hey, we'll take it because we got to get our message out. And the bottom line is that in our politics, that they're expecting close to a couple $2 billion in these elections coming out. And so that money is flowing everywhere. And until we address that issue and get campaign finance reforms, if you want representation that's going to represent your district, those people can't just go in there with empty pockets and just hopes and dreams. We got to understand there's a game being played.
I'm going to get permit. I'm going to get permit. I swear to fucking God, I'm going to get permabanned. Because this is a corrupt politician saying, listen, the game is I take bribes. And until you pass a law we already had called the McCain-Feingold Campaign Finance Reform Act that was overturned by the Supreme Court, you fucking dumb fuck. And when I said 10 years ago, hey, we should probably pack the Supreme Court because the radical right wing is overturning our laws so that corporations can buy the fucking government, you dumb liberals said, that's bad, that's against the norms. I mean, somebody argued with me like 3 weeks ago about packing the Supreme Court. I said, hey, if the Democrats want to do anything, they got to pack the Supreme Court. And what happened? They were like, well, then the Republicans will pack the Supreme Court. As if they're waiting on us to do anything. As if there's some norm out there protecting us. People are still saying this dumb shit. You people, like, legitimately. It doesn't matter what they do. They're arresting green card holders because they said Israel bad. And these dumb liberals are like, well, we got to do a referendum before we can gerrymander California. Abigail Spanberger's going like, I wouldn't gerrymander Virginia. She's up 50 points in the polls, and she won't promise to gerrymander Virginia. Like, these Democrats are controlled fucking opposition. And I'm spitting because I don't know, like, what the fuck is going on? I'm literally spitting. I just spat on my mic. Why? Nobody's mad. And these motherfuckers walk around taking money to do a genocide, and they're fucking safe. No one's even yelling at this guy. There's barely anyone in the room. This guy's taking $11 million of bribes. He goes in front of you and says, that's the game. Got to pass a law. What, so he can get overturned again? I tried to warn people. I've been trying to warn people for over... I have been in this game for 13 years. And every single thing I said was going to happen, happened. Every single thing I warned about happened. Every single norm was violated. And I told you they were going to violate the norms. It fucking happened. I told you Donald Trump was not going to prison. He didn't go to prison. I told you Merrick Garland was a fucking loser. He was a loser. I told you Joe Biden was going to get nothing done. He got nothing fucking done. And these liberals completely do not change. They never change. They never change. No matter what evidence is brought, no matter how many times they're discredited, the exact right-wing Democrat, centrist Democrat, corporate Democrat strategy was tried in the UK, and it has been an utter disaster. Everything they said, right-wing Democrats said we should do, they did it in the UK, and the approval rating of the Labour Party is 13%. 13%. A fascist far-right party called the Reform Party is going to win a massive majority. I mean, and there is, how do you get people to change? At this point, I don't know. I've tried cajoling, I've tried persuasion, I've tried evidence. And people are legitimately fans of Gavin Newsom. Have you been to California?
Politics is a game that's being...
Have you been to California? They can't build a single railroad across flat agricultural land. The Transcontinental Railroad, built in from 1863 to 1869. It took 6 years to build a transcontinental railroad with 19th century technology, and California cannot build one railroad from San Francisco to LA. You want Gavin Newsom, the man who has been in 2 terms in office, who has gotten nothing done, whose cities are unaffordable, whose cities are choked with trash and garbage and filth? Have you walked the streets of Los Angeles, California? Have you gone downtown? Have you driven around the highways, which are crumbling? It's Southern California. It's 75 degrees every day. It rains once a fucking month, and there's potholes. And people want me to say Gavin fucking Newsom. They've been trying to build high-speed rail for 17 years from Los Angeles to San Francisco. 17 years. Next election, an infant that was carried into the ballot box by their mother to vote for the high-speed rail will be able to vote themselves, and they haven't connected Bakersfield. And none of you are mad. None of you are fired up. None of you are like, these people deserve to be buried underneath the jail. Billions of dollars wasted. Donald Trump seizing power in this country. Nobody gives a fuck. Democrats do a goddamn genocide and people tell you to ignore the genocide. This is a more evil, self-centered, and incompetent country. Donald Trump is our perfect avatar. He is what we are. He is us. And I don't want you to give distance from yourself from Donald Trump. He is you. He represents you. He is America. A fat, obese, narcissistic dullard who doesn't know a fucking thing, but who thinks he's the most important chest-beating fuckhead in the planet. There is not one scrap of redemption to be found in how this country has been run for 50 fucking years. Only 6% of Democrats think Israel is more sympathetic than the Palestinians. You could find more Democrats who believe angels are literally real. There are polls that show Donald Trump is more popular than Israel among Democrats. Thinking about the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestinians, are your sympathies more with Israelis or with the Palestinians? 46% of Republicans say Israelis. 49% of Democrats say Palestinians. Both equally has the rest of the Democrats. Thinking about the ongoing conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. I mean, like, look at young people. Democrats 35, Democrats 18 to 34, it's 58% more with the Palestinians. Only 24% of Republican young people like Israel. Israel can't even crack 30%. And we're letting them do a fucking genocide on our dime. We don't live in a democracy. And this is, look at this, look at this, look at this. I've been talking about this for years. The Democratic Party is in full-blown collapse. But we have leaders who are wanting
Trump's approval.
AOC and Bernie Sanders are wanting, let's be honest, let's be frank, let's be clear. AOC and Bernie Sanders are fucking losers. We have one guy, Zoran, who has any balls. We have Summer Lee. We have Rashida Tlaib. We have Zoran. We have barely anybody. And Bernie Sanders and AOC with their pathetic capitulating to Joe Biden. The most shameful, discrediting crap at the DNC. And then the defense of Iron Dome funding. How the fuck is that real?
Ratings are in the toilet. But Democrats may be in big trouble, too, especially with the midterms already looming. An eye-opening report from the New York Times reveals the party has been absolutely hemorrhaging voters. In fact, of the 30 states that track voter registration by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in every one of them from 2020 to 2024. The Times are...
Democrats are not popular anywhere. They're not even popular in the places that they have complete control, because when you give the Democratic Party complete control, like they have in California, they don't do anything with it. They don't have success. Vote blue no matter who is California personified, and they can't even build a fucking single railroad. They can't build public transit that doesn't suck shit. They can't provide housing. I mean, what can you even say?
Reports that 4 year swing toward the Republicans adds up to 4.5 million voters, a deep political hole that could take years for Democrats to climb themselves out from. Basil and Cameron are still here at the table with us.
I am anti-doomer, but I have to say that I'm feeling kind of realistically defeated. I'm feeling like shit is going really bad. Like Israel's Democrats pro-Israel statement. Donald Trump just taking 10% of intel without a peep. Did they talk about that? The fact that we have the military setting up checkpoints. The fact that there's a blatantly unconstitutional executive order on burning the flag. That the Democratic Party is completely uninterested in standing up to Trump and only about containing the left. That's the only thing they do. The only thing Democrats do is try to contain the left. The fact that, I mean, even the social media resistance to Trump is moribund. People are trying to do, you have to vote for Gavin Newsom 3.5 years before the presidential election. The guy is negative 15% net approval nationwide. And California is run like shit. Why the fuck would you want Gavin Newsom to run the country like he runs California? Are you insane? Stay safe out there. Solidarity forever. Join DSA. And don't forget, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
China.